There is nothing we cannot do and no height we cannot achieve. Together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America great again. Thank you, Bronx. Thank you, New York. We love you. Thank you. God bless everybody. God bless you. God bless
you. It was nothing short of absolutely epic. Donald Trump is without a doubt the king of New York, and he's changing the political landscape like never before. We're going to see the new political coalition that's rising up that may indeed be the single most powerful coalition that we have seen in the United States in the last 40 years. And it all began in New York. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It is a live stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. My voice seems to be back. Have you noticed that? It's come back over the last couple of days. I don't know if it was a cold or allergies, but it was this time last Friday in the live stream. I noticed my voice was starting to go, and I couldn't recover it for most of last or this week, but I got my voice back. It looks like it, and just in time for another special live stream Friday, not simply because of Trump's triumphant appearance in the South Bronx, but because of the rollout of our brand new Turley Talks app. That's right, our very own platform that can never, ever, ever be canceled. We built this private platform in response to the news, the unfortunate news, that YouTube has once again decided to demonetize us for a second time in a row. We complied with everything they required of us in the first demonetization, and unfortunately, when we reapplied, they moved the goalposts. They came up with an entirely new infraction to smack us with and keep us completely demonetized for the foreseeable future. According to Google and YouTube, as you can see right there, we are now featuring harmful content on our channel. That's right. Our videos are now deemed harmful to YouTube's audience, and we have been cut off from any and all monetization for the foreseeable future. But what these big tech tyrants did not know when they were trying to cancel us is that we've been preparing for a moment just like this for the last several months. We're calling it our ARC, our brand new Turley Talks app. It's a beautiful personal app that you can download completely free on your iPhone, on your Android, on your computer, whatever electronic device you got. And you can also join one of our levels of support to help us out financially during this very difficult time. We have taken a massive financial hit from the big tech oligarchs, and we could really use your support. Just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com, make an account, download the app, and after you make an account, check out your inbox for a very special welcome where you can read and you can actually sign online our Declaration of Restoration. That's the petition to big tech that you can sign, and you put your name on it, and it informs the tech tyrants that a new day has dawned. They no longer have control over us, and we are taking our nation back. Already thousands of you have signed it. We're so excited. And if you want to ask me a question today because our super chats have been disabled, you can click on the link below, sign up for any level of support you like, and you have instant access to our private virtual platform where you can ask me any question you like. I'll answer it here on this live stream. So just click on that link below, sign up for any level of support, and I'll answer your questions right here, right now. It'll be my honor. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. We got so much to talk about. Something really is happening in America right now. Something that was highly palpable, highly visual for all to see in the South Bronx last night. Working class men and women of all colors, of all ethnicities, of all different backgrounds, Democrats and independents, those who have been politically engaged and those who have not, are awakening. Something that was not happening in 2016 or in 2020 or in 2022, something appears to be happening now. These working class Americans, these men and women of all colors, all stripes, all ethnicities, all backgrounds, are joining together as part of a growing, surging movement from the ground up that is uniting this nation in a way that we have not seen in over 30 years. What happened yesterday was just a few short months ago absolutely unthinkable, frankly unimaginable. What we saw yesterday was the unification of rural America with urban America. The white exurban voter became one with the non-white urban voter. What we saw yesterday was the makings of a new political coalition that could indeed represent the single largest, most powerful coalition we have seen since the Reagan era. A coalition that won 3 landslide election blowouts in a row, back to back to back. But unlike the Reagan coalition that united together economic libertarians with military hawks, with Christian conservatives, this coalition today is not united by a common enemy. That's what held the Reagan coalition together. The Reagan coalition was held together by a unity around a common enemy, being the Soviet Union and the threat of global communism. That's what united your economic libertarians with your military hawks, with your Christian conservatives. When that threat dissipated and died with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, what happened in 92? Bill Clinton. The Reagan coalition unraveled. And what was so fascinating is it unraveled around populist sentiments. It was George Herbert Walker Bush that was the out-of-touch elitist. It was Bill Clinton that felt your pain and sang in the church choir. And if you're my voice tomorrow, I'll be your voice for the next 4 years. But it wasn't just Clinton. Ross Perot, 20% of the vote. Primarily working class vote. Concerned about NAFTA, GATT, right? That giant sucking sound of our manufacturing industry. That Reagan coalition unraveled in disparate populist shards. This new movement is bringing that populism together. This new political coalition is not rooted in a mutual enemy. This new political coalition that we saw on display yesterday in the South Bronx is united by a mutual love, a mutual desire, a mutual aspiration. MAGA. The new coalition of rural and city voters, of the exurban and the urban, is rooted in a mutual love for America. A mutual love for America's borders. A mutual love for America's industrial economy. A mutual love for America's rich diversity of culture, custom, and tradition, most particularly our Christian tradition. What we saw yesterday was the beginning of a mass political coalition that promises to truly and finally make America great again. Let's look at some highlights from yesterday. First off, the line to get into Crotona Park in the South Bronx was absolutely massive. Reports were that the average time of standing in line was 1 to 2 hours to get in. People lined up for what seemed miles for a rally that, keep in mind, was organized for just about 3,500 people to show up. They did not know what to expect in the South Bronx, in the bluest of blue districts in the entire nation. Estimates were, at the end of the day, over 30,000 people came out to see Trump. And then, of course, you had this.
Stand with Trump, I stand with Trump. United we stand, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. United we stand, okay, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. Ooh, lucky me, I just left across the border. Nah, I came in the right way. Come on, take the moon, don't talk to the reporters. Mira, senorita,
This gang, as you can see, where else would you see this? These are rappers, of course, filming a rap video at the rally. It's literally a rally rap. It's a rally rap. Can you imagine anything even remotely like that at a Biden event with his oatmeal crusted lips and his shuffling shoes? Again, organic, grassroots music and dance of the people. Hyper localism. This is the Bronx, celebrating someone who promises to represent them rather than rule them. When Trump took to the stage, he tore into what Biden and the Democrats have done to New York City and the nation.
But sadly, this is now a city in decline. Throughout my life, I've seen New York through good times and bad, through boom times and crime waves, through market crashes and terrorist attacks, but I've never seen it quite like this. We have filthy encampments of drugged out homeless people living in our places that we've spent so much time with children where they used to play. We have lunatics killing innocent bystanders by pushing them onto the railroad tracks for sport. Our it's a sad thing. Don't worry, it gets positive. Don't worry. It gets so positive. Remember, we're going to win. We're all winners. We're going to win so big, we're going to make it bigger and better than ever before. Remember that. So don't worry. By the time the other 6,000 or 7,000 people get in, it'll be very positive. Our subways are squalid and unsafe. The ceiling tiles are falling down, and they look worse than a third world country. The medians of our highways are crumbling. Our sidewalks are littered with garbage, bottles, and trash. But worst of all, the discarded needles from people that so desperately are in need of help. And we have mobs of migrants fighting our police officers and giving America the middle finger. But we are not going to let this continue. We are not going to abandon our hope and our pride. This city has given us so much, and now it is time that we are going to give it back. Together, we are going to make New York City great again, and simultaneously, we are going to make America great again.
Now, what I love about that clip is that really is a microcosm of the speech as a whole. It was darkness mixed with light. I love this little quip. I promise it's going to get more positive. Don't get too nervous here. Again, this, for most of these people, this is their first Trump rally they've ever been to. They're like, I'm getting depressed here. No. I'm going to mix despair with hope, right? Somberness with humor. It was a brilliant speech. One of the best he's given. He was upbeat. I thought this tweet actually summarized it very well. It was a message of hope and unity. It was a solutions-oriented speech. It connected national decay to local issues. Did you notice that? And it provided an action plan on how we were going to reverse the decay. The speech provided plenty of anecdotes of projects that Trump had worked on in building up New York City. Both America and New York City's downfall and their restoration were deeply personal for Trump, and he drove that home. It was a message of unity across the political divide, across all races and ethnicities. And again, he made that point explicitly.
We had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered none, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a perfect number, 1.4%. It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
Whatever the hell you are. I don't care. Whatever the hell you are. We are all Americans, and we're all going to pull together as Americans. This is so key to understanding what's happening here in this rising up of this new political coalition, this rural and urban coalition. It's something that's catching the legacy media completely off guard. They have no idea. They have no frames of reference with which to interpret this. What you're hearing there in that speech is the language of what is known as civic nationalism. Okay. Civic nationalism. Scholars generally make a distinction between two kinds of nationalism. So you got civic nationalism on the one hand, and you've got ethnic or ethno-nationalism on the other. So ethnic nationalism is characterized, obviously, by a nation based on ethnic or racial unanimity, homogeny. So, for example, Japan is generally characterized by an ethnic nationalism. Japan is a nation for a particular ethnicity. But the vast majority of countries around the world are actually polyethnic. Russia, for example, has over 100 ethnicities represented in it. So most countries are actually made up of a multiplicity of ethnicities. And in those nations, like ours in particular, the nationalism that tends to pervade the discourse and the sentiments of people is what's known as civic nationalism. And in civic nationalism, you have a multi-ethnic people united around a common core, common set of customs, cultural symbols, and traditions, usually rooted in one of the classic religions of the world. So for us, it's obviously Christianity. And that's exactly what Trump is appealing to here. We have to understand that from a civic nationalist perspective, the nation is a race. It's like a transcending race, a meta race, as it were. To be an American in this case, but you'll see the same thing, to be Russian, whatever. It's the same discourse you'll find around the world. To be an American is to belong to a national race of people, a multi-ethnic race. In this sense, Trump speaks to whites, he speaks to blacks, Latinos, Asians, as all Americans, as all one people. And it's so interesting because Trump has been doing this for years. That's why I've said this is a coalition that's been in the making for years now. If you read or listen to his speeches starting from 2015 onward, when he first announced his candidacy, you'll note that the rhetoric of racial politics that dominates the political left, right, which involves things like racial discrimination, racial prejudice, racial disenfranchisement. This is all replaced by Trump with nationalist categories and concerns. So Trump still talks about discrimination. You'll notice he talks about discrimination all the time. He talks about prejudice all the time. He talks about disenfranchisement all the time. But you'll notice what makes him unique is that Trump couches those concepts in economic nationalist terms. So he talks about eliminating economic discrimination as a result of unfair globalist trade deals. Trump focuses on employment disenfranchisement in the disappearance of industrial and manufacturing jobs to a globalized division of labor. And he talks about a pay prejudice that exists in the driving down of wages due to mass unfettered illegal immigration. You see, Trump deals with race, but from a very, very different vantage point than I think anyone in the world of racial politics, and particularly the legacy media, can even remotely understand. Again, listen to how he describes illegal immigration. Keep in mind, in a largely non-white context. Check it out.
We're going to end all of that stuff. They respected your president. They respected our country. And we're not going to let we are not going to let these people come in and take our city away from us and take our country away from us. It's not going to happen. Now, who would let people, seriously, who would let people come from prisons and jails, from mental institutions? They cannot stay. We will immediately begin the largest criminal deportation operation in our country's history because this situation is sustainable by no country. No country can sustain this.
And then they started chanting, build the wall, build the wall, Bill, right? Now, you'll notice that back in 2016, 2020, right, whenever Trump started talking that way in rural rallies, in rural parts of America, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan, Pennsylvania, whenever he started talking about these immigrants illegal immigrants are taking our country away from us, whenever he talked that way in rallies that were predominantly white, CNN accused him incessantly of racism. This was all illegal. All this illegal immigration talk was just a bunch of racist dog whistles, right? Now he comes to the heart of the Bronx, a clearly multicultural audience. And what does he do? He says the exact same thing. And not only does he say the exact same thing, these illegal immigrants are trying to take our nation away from us, the people start going crazy and start chanting, build the wall, build the wall. White hands and black hands are both raised up in support, cheering on what he's saying. You see, the nation is a race. This is civic nationalism, not ethno-nationalism. This is what the media never got, never understood, and still doesn't understand when it comes to Trump. He is not an ethno-nationalist. He is a civic nationalist. If you're inside the country, if you are a citizen, if you're an American, Trump's policies are all about protecting you. If you're outside the country, or if you're a non-citizen, his policies are all about, frankly, frustrating you because his policies are fundamentally America first. It's just, I'm sorry. I mean, this is just what makes so much of the legacy media's so-called analysis just so patently absurd. They don't understand this. I don't think they want to, frankly. It's so odd. Classical left-wing racial rhetoric, by definition, disunites and divides the nation. It's whites versus blacks. It's Latinos versus blacks. It's men versus women. It's rural versus urban. Trump's rhetoric is all about uniting the nation. We are one. We are Americans. The Democrats and their versions of discrimination and disenfranchisement is all about dividing us by definition. Trump is all about uniting us. The very fact that the legacy media can only interpret his words. I mean, I don't know. Well, we're going to find out what they had to say yesterday. They were gobsmacked, all right, to use language from across the pond where I got my doctorate from, Durham University at the UK. They were absolutely gobsmacked. They didn't know what on earth to say about yesterday. I'm going to show you a clip from CNN. They were dumbfounded. What could they say? Are they all racists out there in the South Bronx attending the Trump rally? Are they all racist now? Right? They tried to do that with Larry Elder. Remember that when he was running for governor during the recall? Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacism. You see, the very fact that they have no other frame of reference to interpret America First talk shows how left-wing the media is. They can only think in leftist racial terms. Trump is all about uniting the country around civic nationalism, whereas the Democrats are all about dividing us. And again, we could see the success of this redefinition of race as a civic identity in real time. One of the more poignant moments in the speech, this is one of my favorites, is when a lifelong Democrat, a black Latino pastor, got up on stage and said this.
And I want to close by saying, Mr. President, I want to join you in having the Bronx great again. Please accept this Democrat, this black Puerto Rican with a kinky hair and a broken English. Please accept my endorsement for you as a president. Thank you very much.
Beautiful job. Thank you.
Now, gang, make no mistake. The Democrats and the legacy media are absolutely panicked over this. They are waking up this morning, if they were even able to sleep last night. They are in utter hysterics. Some are just shell-shocked. They don't know what to do. And wait until you see what CNN said in response to all of this. It's going to absolutely make your day. But first, gang, if you're just joining us, if you want to ask me your questions today, because YouTube has suspended our super chats in their total demonetization of this channel, just click on that link below, download our beautiful brand new app, and join one of our levels of support, any level you want. And you have access to your own virtual platform where you can ask me all of your questions. It's our backstage pass to our own virtual platform. Ask me any question you like just by joining any level of support, and I'll be happy to answer those questions on this live stream. Also, as you know, if you're regular to this channel, I am a huge fan of gold. You all know that. I can't stop talking about gold. I love gold. And guess what? So do central banks. It's one of the chief reasons why the price of gold is absolutely skyrocketing. Do your own research. Google it. You'll quickly find out that central banks around the world are gobbling up gold. That's why the price of gold is expected to continue to climb, because when all is said and done, more and more nations are turning back to the timeless value of gold and silver. So that's why we have as one of our wonderful friends and sponsors, the amazing company Goldco, because they're patriots just like us who want to help you and guide you in how to get into the precious metals completely tax-free and penalty-free. They're really amazing, gang. I mean, I love Golka. I could not recommend a company more. In fact, if you click on that link below right now, okay, don't wait. Stop waiting. The best time to have gotten into gold was yesterday. The second best time is right now, okay? Do what I've done. Do what tens of thousands of patrons have done. Click on that link below and get your very own absolutely free gold and silver kit. It's an amazing free resource that shows you step by step how to get into precious metals, even if your money's still in a retirement account like an IRA or a 401k. And just to show you how awesome the patrons of Goldco are, the best part is that you may actually already qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. $10,000 in free silver. I told you they're the best. So what are you waiting for, gang? Get in on the action by clicking on that link below or going to turleytalkslikesgold.com. And right now, get your free gold and silver kit. It promises to be a real life changer. All right, gang. I love gold. I love gold. Make no mistake. The Democrats and the legacy media are absolutely panicked over what happened yesterday. They are utterly, absolutely, totally gobsmacked over this. Even CNN had to admit that something totally unprecedented is afoot. Take a look.
What was the crowd like, and what kind of response did he get?
Well, certainly a bigger crowd than I think Democrats would like to see, particularly given this is one of the bluest counties in the entire country. Now, one of the things that was interesting to me is that the Trump campaign said that they were going to micro-target to get people from the community to come to this rally. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've gone to a lot of these rallies across the country, and there are often people who travel hundreds of miles to see Donald Trump, and they're not necessarily part of the community. However, one of the things that I found was that there were a lot of people here that were actually from the Bronx.
You could hear it in the back. You could hear the disappointment. Yes, Anderson, I've been to many Trump rallies in the past, and they always bust people in from all over, and people travel hundreds of miles just to see him. And that's what I was hoping for here. But unfortunately, I found that the most people I talk to are from right here in the Bronx, darn it. Yeah, this massive crowd is basically organic. This is the real deal. They didn't manufacture. It's not fabricated, like the Russian collusion hoax that we fabricated for 3.5 years. They're all locals from the Bronx. Darn it. That's not the answer Anderson wanted to hear. And it's something that CNN is starting to sound the alarm on, much more than MSNBC or ABC or CBS or any other cable news or network outlet. Here's CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton, sounding the alarm on this new rising political coalition.
Is here. Sorry, Harry's just
It's a Friday. It's a Memorial Day weekend. Come on.
Exactly.
That's right.
Harry is just always here. As Steve was talking about, the effort that Donald Trump and his campaign have been making to try to make inroads with Black and Hispanic voting communities, you see that with this attempt to go into the deep blue Bronx. But you actually think there's a larger story at play here that people aren't talking about.
Yeah, I think there are a few things. Number one, guys, if we just put this newspaper up on the screen. Look, this is Donald Trump's hometown paper, the New York Post. He got the headline that he wanted out of this, and this is something that Trump is so important to him. But it's more than that, Kate.
Yeah.
Look at the Crotona Park area, right? The Crotona Park precinct where that rally was held yesterday. It's a majority Hispanic precinct. And I want you to take a look, essentially, at the election results over the last few cycles. And what you would see there is essentially say that, look, this is a very Democratic precinct, right? But look at the margin trend line here. You see Obama 94, Obama 96, Clinton 92. Biden won it, but by only 69 points.
Only 69 points?
Why is that important? Because look at that. That's 23 percentage points less then Hillary Clinton won it by. This is a sign of the Hispanic movement that we saw last cycle, right? Where we saw, although Hispanics still favored the Democratic candidate in Joe Biden, they were less likely to favor him than they did Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama both times. And it's not just there that happened. We saw it in Hispanic precincts and counties across the country, from Southeast Florida, Southern Texas, even in the Los Angeles area.
So past, talk about present. What are the trends you're seeing among Hispanic voters this year?
Yeah, so we saw a trend among Hispanic voters from 2016 to 2020 where they became less Democratic. Look at the trend that we're seeing right now in the polling, right? So if you look back at Hispanic voters at this point in the 2020 cycle, Joe Biden had a 25-point lead. Look at where that lead is today. It's just 7 points. Donald Trump right now at 44%, if that held, would be the best performance for a Republican candidate among Hispanic voters since George W. Bush back in 2004. And this is part of a larger trend line, Kate, that we're seeing among non-white voters. We see it among black voters as well. We've discussed that on this program before, whereby they're much more favorable to Donald Trump than they were 4 years ago. And of course, Donald Trump did better amongst both of those groups in 2020 versus how he did in 2016.
Now, again, the key here is that Trump doesn't have to win the non-white vote, right? That's not the goal here. He doesn't have to outright win the majority of the non-white vote. All he has to do is cut in enough on Biden's margins with non-whites in order to politically destroy Biden. Now, we've been talking about the political sweet spot for Trump for weeks now. He's galvanizing the rural white vote, while at the same time, he's getting record support from the non-white vote, right? Trump is maximizing the rural white vote like he did in 2016 and 2020. Remember, even if Hillary had gotten Barack Obama's same level of support among the black vote in 2016, she still would have lost the election because she lost the rural white vote by so much. Trump is maximizing that rural white vote even more so in 2024 than in 2016, 2020, while at the exact same time, he's radically minimizing the Democrat urban vote by siphoning off more non-white votes than ever from Biden's margins. So the political sweet spot for Trump and what he appears to be doing here is maximizing the rural vote for himself while minimizing the urban vote for Biden. And we've talked about this in terms of why Trump is able to uniquely do this, uniquely unite the rural with the urban. It's because of his nationalist populism. So we've been talking about the nation, the nationalism, civic nationalism. But what about his populism? Why do we harp so much on this channel about the force of nationalist populism throughout the West, particularly in Europe? What's the chief characteristic of populism? We talked about nationalism, but what's the chief characteristic now of populism? See all the cool things you learn on this channel, right? We know what's going on with civic nationalism. We talked about all the dynamics of that. What about populism? Why is nationalist populism so important? Who knows? Put it in the chat. You guys know this if you're a regular to this channel. Populism redefines the political animosity. It redefines the political animosity from a horizontal animosity, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, right, urban versus rural. It redefines the horizontal animosity to a vertical one. The people versus the political class, the ruled versus the rulers, the ordinary American versus the oligarchs. And thus, populism promises to amass a coalition that can go way beyond the limitations of a left-right divide. It's not constrained by the limitations of Democrat versus Republican. Now it's the entire people versus the political class, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny little oligarchical minority. And the people is everybody. And who are they? They are one nation. They are a single national race, united around the civic symbols of tradition and custom and culture. So that's why I think what we're seeing in the polls here is Trump starting to really run away with this, especially in the swing states. Let's say if you haven't seen this, this is the latest electoral map from 538. That's Nate Silver's organization. I mean, look at this, gang. I mean, look at it. This is insane. Right now, as we speak, if you average out all the polls that have been taken over the last 8 months, in particularly all the swing states, see all that pink? You see all that pink? Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those are all the swing states. They're all the swing states, including the district in Maine. Those are all the swing states. And Trump is winning every single one of them. And again, this isn't this poll without no poll cherry picking here. This is the averaging out of all the polls over the last 8 months. Some of I think have hit, like in Pennsylvania, can't remember if it's Pennsylvania or Michigan. Some have hit like 50 or 60 polls now. They're polling weekly. Trump is now, right now as we speak, if we take those poll averages, he's crushing Biden with 312 electoral votes. 312. You got 306 in 2016. Okay. 312 electoral votes. Actually, I think he got 304. Can't remember now. Whatever it is, 8 points more than what he got in 2016. 8 electoral points more than what he got in 2016. That I would, and by the way, that itself was a feat because Trump was the first Republican to get over 300 electoral votes since 1988 when I graduated high school. He's now sitting comfortably at 312. This does not count New York. This does not count Virginia. This does not count New Jersey. This does not count Minnesota, which are all in play right now. What accounts for that extra 6 or 8 electoral votes? It's the urban vote. It's the non-white working class vote defecting en masse to Trump and giving him another 6 or 8 electoral votes. And by the way, if you're a statistics nerd, 538 average polling in May is generally determinative of who is going to win in November. So on May 23rd of 2020, Biden had 4.3% lead over Trump. He ended up winning with 4.5%. And that's true in virtually every one of the swing states. Biden was up in Nevada in May. He won Nevada in November. He was up in Pennsylvania in May. He won Pennsylvania in November. Biden was up in Wisconsin in May. He won Wisconsin in November. He was up in Michigan in May. He won Michigan in November. Generally speaking, wherever the polls are in late May, that is generally who ends up winning in November. That's been the pattern we've seen in most election cycles. Not all, to be sure, there are exceptions. 2016 was one of them. Hillary was up in most of these polls, and Trump turned it around. But Trump today, this is not even controversial no matter who you ask, left, right, center, doesn't matter in terms of polling analysis. Trump today is polling stronger by far than he has ever polled. He is in a better position to win the presidency today than he was in 2016. And it is precisely because of this new political coalition, this amazing, this glorious political coalition that has been years in the making. It finally appears to be rising to once and for all make America great again. Over to you, gang. Over to you. Remember, if you want to ask me your questions, because YouTube has suspended our super chats, having demonetized us completely, all you have to do is just click on that link below. Go to fight.turleytalks.com. Download our beautiful brand new app. Beautiful, beautiful brand new, best app ever. And then in the process, you're going to want to join one of our levels of support. Any level you want, you have an access to our own, very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. Also, I do have a special opportunity for you guys to build your wealth faster in the parallel economy using a unique and conservative cryptocurrency investing strategy. You guys know, again, if you're regulars, you know I love gold, the conservative nature of gold, but I also love crypto. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink recently said the race for crypto by some of the biggest wealth managers in the world is a flight to quality during these uncertain economic times. There's a little known and conservative strategy that's quietly being exploited right now because it's one of the best ways to fight against a declining dollar. And there's a bonus. It focuses on building long-term wealth faster while also generating cash flow now. Why shouldn't everyday people also be able to tap into this little-known strategy? Well, the answer is because we got patriots who are friends of this channel. You should, and you can. So I want to tell you about my good friend, Turley Talk sponsor, Dan Ryder. Dan has helped thousands discover and learn about this little-known new crypto strategy. Dan and Primetime DeFi are leading a movement of kingdom-minded patriots on a mission to leave their corporate jobs and build a legacy for future generations, even if you're a complete beginner. So don't wait. Click on that link below right now to book a call with Dan and his team and let them walk you through the process. You don't need to gamble on high-risk cryptos to experience exceptional returns. There is a path for every comfort zone. Slots are limited, so don't wait. Click on that link below and book a call today. Oh, I love Dan, and I love crypto as well. Gold and crypto, man. Gold and it's archaeofuturism, right? Archaeofuture. You combine tradition and technology. That's the wave of the future. You want to check that out. Sorry, I've got a message here. Got a note just real quick. I want to check it. But Josh, put up our first question here. Again, gang, just click on the link below. Join any level of support in order to ask me your question. Missy, which are your favorite news sites for daily headlines? I look at Rantingly, but it's limited. Drudge left us long ago. Yeah, Drudge is gone. Oh, what happened to Drudge? I'll give you a list. I got my bookmark here. I like checking out News Ammo. News Ammo is great. I do like what you have with Rantingly. I like the curated sites. So I like Rantingly. I like News Ammo. I like Citizen Free Press. Again, it's curated news sites. I like Whatfinger. I like the Liberty Daily. What else? What would be good? Epoch Times is wonderful. I check out Epoch Times almost every single day. What would be good one? Any Poll is another one. Any Poll, but they're kind of on and off. I like there's a Twitter aggregate. You see what's trending on Twitter. That helps. So there you go. Those would be some really good curated conservative websites to check it out. I admit I check out Fox periodically just to see what's on the headlines, and Newsmax. Again, just to see what they're about. But Terry, are you sure Trump can't flip New York? Seems to me he just did between his reception in the South Bronx yesterday and his support upstate. He's got it. What am I missing? No, Terry, I didn't say he couldn't flip New York. I said it was going to be hard. It was going to be very, very hard. Lee Zeldin came within just a few points. No. I've done videos on this. There's plenty of indicators that he could flip New York. New York is ripe for the flipping. What is New York? How many counties? I think there's 60 counties. I didn't ask population. I asked counties. How many counties in New York? Oh gosh, Listic. Why are you guys so difficult? Just give me a number. As I'm looking for a count, only a handful are blue. Literally only a hand. 62. Thank you. I was pretty close. Only a handful are blue. The vast majority, super majority, are red. Right, 85, 90% of New York's counties are red. The problem is the population centers are in those blue areas, Albany, New York. But if Trump can shave off enough from Biden's urban margins, yes, he can win. Absolutely. He does not have to win the popular vote in those urban regions. He just has to shave off enough from the margins of Biden's win to be able to create an aggregate mass that ends up winning the vote in New York. My one concern with New York and New Jersey is they are Democrat machines. So there's just a lot of fraud. There's a lot of ways in which they can end up taking the there's a lot of ways they can end up stealing. I'll just say it, the election. That makes me nervous. But there's no hopefully they're lazy. Hopefully they're just overconfident, and Trump can exploit that like he did in 2016, catching everybody flat-footed in Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, where he won those states for the first time since 1988 for any Republican. Oh, in 1984, I should say, because Iowa went with Dukakis. So, no, I'm with you, Terry. I think he can. Yesterday was a game changer, no question about it. Oh, Josh sent me the counties. Thank you, Josh. I should have looked down here. Our producer sent me the counties. Kenneth Bryant, based on the turnout last night, the Bronx is New York firmly in play for 45. Do you think New York could actually vote Trump? Yes. So same thing. I do. I absolutely do. I think he is definitely poised to very possible. I mean, let's put it this way. He is poised to expand the electoral map. He already has. He's got Nevada. Nevada has not voted for Republicans since 2004. Okay, 20 years. He's got Nevada. That's clear. It looks like he's definitely got Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. It's looking really good, especially Pennsylvania. I mean, keep in mind, if he wins, he's got Georgia, he's got Arizona, he's got Nevada. If he wins Pennsylvania, it's over, right? I mean, the election's done. So now people are looking. I mean, he's within one in Virginia. He's within one or two in Minnesota. I mean, this is crazy. He is expanding the electoral map. Some are saying they really want to see polling in New Mexico to see if it reflects this massive shift to the right that we've seen, for example, in Arizona and Nevada. So we'll see. It's astonishing. Lynn, there are a few sites on YouTube which condense IDF, so Israeli Defense Force bulletins on the progress of the war in Gaza. Not sure they can be totally trusted, but they do seem to have useful information. Hubby and I listened to one called Raptor. Okay, yeah, I do not know Raptor. I will have to check it out. I will write it down. Very good. Yeah, I mean, again, just a tragic situation going on in the Middle East at this point. Would never have happened under Trump. That's the tragedy, the ultimate tragedy. David, did Trump ever try to implement the Minsk Accords during his first term? If so, what were the results? I wasn't paying much attention those days. Yeah, I don't. Good question. If I recall, in fairness, I do think the State Department dragged their feet with the Minsk Accords every step of the way. I may be wrong on that. I wish I had Alexander and Alex of the Duran to give us their insight on that one. But I don't think he was. I don't think he was. Trump did not seem to be interested in expanding NATO. That's for sure. He doesn't particularly like NATO, as you know. As a matter of fact, rumor has it he was thinking of disbanding NATO. So he certainly wasn't interested in expanding it. But to what extent he led the charge in instituting the Minsk Accords, so if you guys don't know, this is Donbass. This is the breakaway regions of Donetsk and Lugansk in the Donbass region in Ukraine. And Russia had a civil war broke out post 2014 Maidan coup. Russia had helped to broker a peace between pro-Kiev forces and the pro-Donetsk Lugansk forces in the Donbass that were getting shelled and innocent citizens getting killed in their villages for like 6 years. I mean, it was crazy, and nobody cared in the West. Everybody was putting their freaking Ukraine flags up since the March 2021, 22 invasion. Could have cared less about dying Ukrainians, ironically, at that time. Obviously, there were more ethnic Russians, but Russia brokered a peace. It would have kept the Donbass region in Ukraine, but would have granted them a level of sovereignty akin to the way Scotland has it in the UK. And basically, yeah, Ukraine did everything they could to frustrate that. I thought, if I recall, Zelensky had run on implementing the Minsk Accords and bringing about peace until he became a puppet of the State Department. And I wish I had a better answer in terms of the extent to which Trump was a participant in that. Lynn, also, what are your thoughts on Hungary's making nicey nice with China? Seems to be an economic relationship, but should Orban trust China? Yeah, it's nicey nice with the multipolar world. That's the key. It's nicey nice with the new civilizationalist world, of which Orban's a very, very small but significant part. So the new world that's rising is a multipolar world where the economic activity is recalibrating in the East. China, Russia, particularly Russia with its commodity powerhouse, China with its manufacturing, India with its tech as well as manufacturing. And then, of course, OPEC nations shifting over to the BRICS bloc. So Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. So, yeah, Orban is just reading the tea leaves. He sees the West in demise, the collective Western powers in demise. They're fooling themselves. They're idiots. They don't know what's going on. It's technically known as post-normal lag. That's how scholars make sense of it. So we're in a post-normal period between a no longer, the end of the globalist world, and a not yet, the rise of the civilizationalist world. We're in between. And our rulers in the collective West still think we're back in the globalist world of 1991 and America's unipolar moment and a Pax Americana. They're still operating with those assumptions. Orban is under no such assumptions. So he's moving and pivoting to the civilizationalist world that's rising, that's not yet to restore a full new order. But he sees China as a key ally in that world. Certainly not a security ally. No, his Hungary's security is guaranteed by NATO and the West. That's not. It's very comparable to what's happening in Australia. Australia's alliance security-wise is with the West, but increasingly their alliance economically is with the East. It's with China. And so I think you're right. He's making nice China as an economic relationship, but not as a security relationship. But that is indicative of the fact that he does see a new world rising, and that China is going to be an economic powerhouse for the future. And it's in Hungarian self-interest to be a part of that. You don't have to worry about Chinese surveillance systems and social credit systems when you're simply engaged in an economic partnership. China just doesn't seem to be that interested in spreading that surveillance state beyond its own borders. Yes, it's got police here, but again, that tends to be to keep an eye on expats living here in the United States. It's not to keep an eye on you and me per se. That's just, at least that's the way I see it. Thank you, Lynn. Very perceptive. Anelia, once President Trump is reelected, thinking positive here, of course. Yeah, but again, no time to be complacent. We saw what they did in 2020. They're already engaged in election shenanigans with this corrupt Manhattan Alvin Bragg DA. All right. So they're already doing it. So they're going to cheat. Right. So we have to be absolutely resolute. Remember, vote and volunteer. Vote and volunteer. Those are your two ways you push back against that. So once again, once President Trump is reelected, thinking positive here, how feasible is it that he and a left-wing populist can find a way to work together to expand the MAGA coalition? So we're looking at Tulsi Gabbard, of course, RFK Jr. Yeah, we'll see. Right. So we'll see once these. Yeah, bottom line, you just have to be a left-winger, drops all the stupid fascist talk and neo-Nazi talk, all this modernist, globalist, liberal rhetoric, and recognize we're in a new age here where Nazism, fascism has no place whatsoever in a new civilizationalist world. Nazism, meaning Nazism was thoroughly modernist and technocratic. So if you could drop that rhetoric, yeah, we already saw it in Italy when we saw five-star populist left unite with Lega, populist right, Matteo Salvini. I saw it personally. It was a pretty impressive, powerful coalition. It unraveled, and because Salvini actually thought he could, the populist left became very unpopular. Populist right was surging in popular. So Salvini thought he could make a move to become prime minister. It didn't work out. They had an interim globalist leftist government that collapsed with the rise of Giorgia Meloni and the Brothers of Italy and the rise of the far right in Italy. So now they don't even need the populist left. So yes, it's happened before. It can happen again here in the United States. And RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, people like that seem to be the more prominent spokespersons of the populist left today. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, at this point, short of assassinating Trump, how would the sewer rats stop him from winning? So, Rock Dog, I don't know. I honestly don't. So there's a giddiness that I'm trying to temper here, because I know if there's a possibility of them doing something, they will do it, right? You and I both know. But I'm with you. Short of physically stopping him, either by throwing him in jail or, God forbid, I don't know what they're going to do. If we're following a real viable new populist political coalition forming here, we are actually seeing it. We're at the cusp of this thing really happening. Because keep in mind, this is just the beginning. It's just starting, as it were. Imagine where it's going to be in late October. So if this is right, if we're watching a movement, Rock Dog, that will grow even fiercer and more powerful were Trump convicted. Because the right people now are going to feel the most affinity and solidarity with him, which we heard a lot of testimony yesterday, by the way. I was going to put some of that in there today, but just part of the editing process, I was not able to do that. But I'm with you. I think right now, absent physically preventing Trump from running, right now, we're looking at the possibility of not quite a 1988 blowout, but maybe something more like a 2008, possibly, but with a reverse sort of red map. It is astonishing, but again, we cannot be complacent. I want to get giddy. I do, because this looks really neat. And Rock Dog, I know you've been with us for forever. We've been following this now, for how many months? We've had Rich Barris on here. Rich was one of the first pollsters that saw this happening, this new coalition of urban and rural. So, I mean, it's just so exciting to see nationalist populism emerge into a completely new politics. It's been so long in the making. We've been following this now for 7.5 years. So it's very exciting, because it does promise to be super majority level stuff. And again, we've seen this with Viktor Orban's Hungary. We saw it, kind of seeing it with Meloni's Italy. We've seen it certainly with Nayib Bukele. And he's done precisely that in El Salvador. He's united the rural vote with the urban vote, and he's getting 85% majorities. I mean, it's stunning. We're seeing it with Javier Milei in Argentina. We're seeing it with Modi in India, although Modi has yet to really fully tap into the urban vote in India. We're certainly seeing it with Putin. Again, this is what Western commentators simply don't understand about Putin. They have no idea. They can't even begin to understand and explain the civilizationalist dynamics behind Putin. So anyway, you got it. It's pretty amazing stuff. Dan, Trump is a longtime resident of New York. Most citizens of the state like favorite sons of their state. Why do they hate Trump So, well, obviously they don't. Obviously they don't. But they were convinced in 2016, 2020, there was the Antichrist by legacy media that basically said, he's a, white nationalist because look at all his rallies. They're all in rural America where them white folk are, with their knuckle dragging white folk kind of stuff. And, and what was so neat about yesterday is he literally could have stolen the script outside of the specific remarks on New York. He could have stolen that script from any rural rally, anyone. It could have been, anywhere in deep rural, Lancaster or whatever, in Wisconsin. I mean, Iowa, Ohio. And he brought it to New York and the Bronx, and it's just as relevant, and the people are just as fired up over it. So it shows the wide appeal of civic nationalism that forms this populism that redefines the political animosity from the horizontal to the vertical, and it's quite possibly going to redefine politics. Hold on, let me get a note here. Okay, go for it. Terry, why are we StreamYard exclusively and not on the app? Josh, do you know? Terry, don't ask me tech questions. I don't know. Why not on the app? I think StreamYard is hooked up to the app. Josh, you can let me know. Insiders Club is on stream. Okay. So the app consolidates. So the app is technically different than Insiders. Insiders Club, by definition, is on StreamYard. The app is for everybody. And then if you join one of the levels support, you end up in Insiders, and Insiders is on StreamYard. I think that's how it works. At least they tell me, Terry. Oh, Terry, I don't know. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, the Democrats replace Pedo Joe at the convention. Who'd they get to replace him with? And how do you think independents and the rest of the country are going to view that? Very badly. Very badly. I think Democrats Democrats, this is going to be so hard for the Democrats to do, to replace Biden, because Democrats didn't vote for someone else. They voted for Biden. Right or wrong, that's who they voted for. They did not vote for someone else. So what we have to understand is it's not like the delegates automatically go to somebody else. The delegates that are representative of those who voted for Biden don't just automatically go to like Michelle or Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris. They will be contested. It will be a contested convention, guaranteed. Democrats from all behind the scenes are going to come out contesting it, and voters that could contest that. Voters are going to say, I didn't vote for Gavin Newsom. I don't want him. So it would be a disaster. I believe they are stuck with Biden. I know Dan Bongino's been saying, and other people, Vivek's been saying, you watch, they're going to get rid of him. I think they are absolutely stuck with them. There's nothing they can do. Dr. Steve, next. Sorry, Rock Dog. Charkin86, do you think this was an epic troll play to get the sympathy of New Yorkers ahead of a probable guilty verdict in order to cause more trouble for Bragg, or is it just into a stepping stone? I could see it as both. I don't know what to expect coming out of New York. It seems it's win-win at this point. If it is a hung jury or acquitted, of course, he comes out swinging his cane. If he is convicted, it's obviously a kangaroo court because of how absurd the circus trial was. It just galvanizes people who sympathize with him more and more towards him. I don't know the answer. I mean, the very fact that Nikki Haley came out the other day and endorsed him tells me something's going on. They don't think again, this is just intuitive, or I've read other people, so I don't know if they've got information here, but it does appear that it does appear Nikki Haley thinks he's going to win. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if that's going to be something. I don't know if it's inside information that they have and how the jury is going to decide. I don't know. But I guarantee you, if Nikki Haley thought Trump was going to lose, she would never have given that endorsement in a million years. Never. If she thought Trump was out, she would be piling on. She would be positioning herself to be the new leader of the post-Trump Republican Party. She would want nothing to do with him. The very fact she endorsed him means she believes he is going to be leading this party for the next 4 years, precisely because she believes he's going to be leading the nation the next 4 years. So I think that's what we can draw from what's going on there. Apparently, the CIA was and is heavily involved in Ukraine. How can Trump deal with exposing the CIA and breaking it up? J2 Bav, yeah, great question. Yes. I mean, all the three-letter agencies are corrupt to the core at this point. Everyone is coming to that conclusion. Even the most pro-military, pro-national security sentiments are coming to the conclusion that our three-letter agencies, national security agencies, international police forces, and like, which is basically your CIA, they are all corrupt to the core at this point. They're being weaponized, politicized against citizens and against the best interests of American people. So, yeah, it'll be a good question. I don't know what strategically would be the best way for Trump to deal with and expose the CIA. The FBI would just be on his own. I mean, basically the way they've treated him. I don't know what would be the best way to do CIA in particular. That's a good question. I mean, I think you just need a commission of some kind. I know it's not very sexy, but that's generally the way they've done it in the past to expose the CIA's. But it's not even, that's the thing, like the Church Committee, it's not just exposing the CIA, exactly what you're saying. It's the second part, breaking it up, dismantling it. That's the hard part. They just seem to have such a stranglehold. These intelligence agencies, these three-letter agencies, just seem to have such a stranglehold on Washington, D.C. that they've developed over the last 70 years. So I don't know the answer of how to do that. I don't have that kind of strategic insight. Sorry, I've got something here. I got a note. Sorry, gang. All right, sorry. Franz Paul, where does scaled succession fit in the internal-external fragmentation dichotomy? So I see. So Franz is obviously one of our more astute and advanced. What did Rush used to call it? The Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, EIV, right? So yes, Franz would be one of our major students, our prize students, top students in the Institute for Advanced Traditionalist Populist Nationalist Studies, right? So scaled, and it's secession, Franz, here I'm going to correct your grammar. Scaled secession is when cities, counties, yeah, I think it's going to be cities and counties basically dislodge themselves politically from their greater political organization. So it would be say a suburb of Detroit that's still under the jurisdiction of the Detroit City Hall, amasses enough signatures, galvanizes its citizens enough to be able to actually secede and form their own city, with their own city hall and so forth, that's no longer under the jurisdiction of Detroit. That's what is known as scaled secession, or I like what you're saying. It's also internal secession, or a county. What they're trying to do in eastern rural Oregon, secede in effect from Salem, their capital, and join up with Boise in Idaho. So they're trying to move a state's borders. But again, we're seeing the same thing in Illinois. We're seeing the same thing in Western Maryland. They want to hook up with West Virginia, or even San Bernardino is even considering creating their own state within California. The way I see that is different with external fragmentation is all of that keeps the larger national government in place. That doesn't change. When you're moving away from a national government, like Texas is trying to do, right? Or what Brexit did in moving away from the Brussels-based European, pan-European government. That's when I think you're seeing the external fragmentation. I think you're seeing the external breakup. It all comes down to, I mean, in terms of how it's all working out, it all comes down to re-territorialization. That's how the sense I make of it. So re-territorialization is, by the way, Josh, if you're listening, can you forward me a script for 360, Kingdom 360? I'm supposed to give them a plug, and I don't have it here. They're one of our great. Thanks, Josh. That's what also I've been looking for. Forgive me, I'm a little scatterbrained today. So it's all comes down to re-territorialization, and re-territorialization involves regions being reclaimed by their local populations. So if globalism deterritorializes, if it disembeds time and space away from localized control, think of your local mall, for example. It's local in terms of proximity, but all the stores there are chains, national and international chains, right? They're not specific to your region. That's globalism. Globalism disembeds time and space. So space like in a mall, time in terms of standardized time. So it's the same time in the easternmost part of Maine as it is in the westernmost part of Ohio, right? So it's globalization's all about these disembedded, delocalized standardizations. Well, if globalism is collapsing, then all of the particulars that held together are all fracturing, and they're going back to the radically local and regional. So this is what this re-territorialization is. But as the fracturing of globalism ends up getting re-territorialized and re-regionalized, it's getting re-territorialized and re-regionalized in different ways. In this renewed civilizationalism in Russia and China and India and Turkey, in a renewed civic nationalism in the form of MAGA, Hungary, Poland, Italy, Japan, but also in a new kind of territorialism, tribalism, ethno-nationalism. It's not, and I don't even like ethno-nationalism. I prefer tribalism because tribalism is not just racial, it's also regional and it's religious. So populations are redefining themselves regionally, racially, and or religiously. So Texas doesn't care what race and religion you are; it's a regional breakoff. And so St. George in Louisiana, the latest breakoff from, in this case, Baton Rouge. They don't care what race or religion you are. It's a regional breakoff. So you have, in re-territorialization, you have civilizationalism rising up, you have nationalisms rising up, and you have tribalisms rise up. Those are the three main ways we're seeing the world fragment. And so as part of that tribalism, for lack of a better term, you've got scaled secession, where you have internal rearrangements happening in the midst of a standard, steady national or statewide government. Gang, let me just read off a little quick plug here for one of our sponsors. Again, we've been demonetized. I almost said deterritorialized there. We've been demonetized. And I just want to give a huge, huge thanks to all of our sponsors. And I want to take a minute. I know a lot of you, as you could tell, the theme of today's program is finance, and particularly real estate of some kind. We're looking at gold, we're looking at crypto, but now let's talk about real estate, like buying property, right? I know a lot of you have been really interested in getting involved in real estate, using this kind of uncertainty we're living in as a time to help build your own parallel economy through real estate. And that's where we have a really good friend by the name of Jeff Rogowski. Jeff is amazing. He's the real deal, good Christian conservative guy. Jeff he's become a good friend. We didn't know this, but Jeff and I grew up literally 10 minutes away from each other in Connecticut. He grew up in Milford. I grew up in Orange. And well, it turns out Jeff is an amazing patriot, and he owns over $250 million. He always shows off with this, but it is an amazing achievement. He owns over $250 million. Yes, that's billion with a B. That's the kind of friends you have as part of our movement, our Courageous Patriot movement. We have guys who own $250 million worth of real estate out there, and he wants to show you how to get in on it as well. He's leading a movement of Christian patriots who are on a mission to do real estate God's way. He's doing amazing stuff with faith, family, and freedom, so that you can walk away from any woke job, corporate job that you want, and build a legacy for future generations. Jeff and his team have opened up some time to chat with each and every one of you. Josh, can you make sure to put on that, put a link there if we don't have it? Let's put a link there for Jeff and his team, because they're amazing. Special link just for our audience, the Turley Talkers. They're going to book, you can book 15 minutes with Jeff and his team. They're going to pray with you. They're going to talk about your life goals. They're going to talk about your finances, where you are, where you want to be. And then they're going to decide whether or not they can help you. They're not there for everybody. Okay. That's what makes them amazing. They're incredible. They're not there for everyone. They're there for if you fit a particular kind of profile, they can do it for you, and they can work miracles for you guys. Click on that link below, book a 15-minute call, talk with Jeff and his team. Gang, they're unbelievable. Or you could just go to their website, freeintrocall.com, freeintrocall.com. Gang, you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into real estate. It's amazing. They are here for you, and they're going to show you how to do this in a way you never even dreamed. This is your moment to build your financial legacy like you never imagined. We want everyone in this audience to build civilization. The new world is rising. Let's do it together. We're all going to face our difficulties. You know, we got hit massive financial blow, but we're moving forward because we got friends like Jeff and we got friends like you. Let's hook you guys up together, and let's see what you guys can do together. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing. All right, there you go. Make sure to put down that link, Josh. Fastalan, are the Dems trying to provoke the Mideast into war to attempt to make it impossible for President Trump to establish peace on the timetable he's put forth when elected? Yeah, like literally within 24 hours, right? That's basically what he's saying. He'd have peace in Ukraine within 24 hours, because we all know what he's going to do. He's a realist there, a realist, lowercase r and capital R. And are they trying to thwart it in the Middle East? I don't know the answer to that, Fastelin, but I would not put it past them. These are pretty evil people we're dealing with. I mean, really, really evil people. I don't know. And even Republicans are in on it. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I wouldn't put it past them. Let's put it that way. Vaughn, how do we stop the driver's license issued to illegal immigrants that are then automatically registered to vote in the swing states? Yeah, I don't know if it's that easy, Vaughn. I don't know if it's that easy. But you're going to have to contact your state representatives and make it clear to them that this is absolutely unacceptable, and they have to do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, again, it can backfire. Keep in mind, can backfire with this new populist coalition. Latinos are very attracted to Trump. Very attracted to Trump. So it could backfire. But I would contact your local representatives and make sure that they know about what schemes are going on and that you're going to hold them accountable in the next election if they don't do anything about it. But then again, you're like, oh, I get all the, well, if they're Republicans, no one's, the chances are it can affect them as well. And that's what you do. That's what you basically say to them. If you're a Republican, this is going to affect you too. Right. So this is survival here. Paul, in the reference to the justice system, federal and otherwise, and the lawfare it's capable of, is there any way to take out of the hands of whatever administration is currently in charge in order to make it nonpartisan and justice-oriented? Good question. So trying to think. I mean, it's funny. Technically, that was the Israeli system before Netanyahu and the Knesset voted to change it. They appointed themselves. The Israeli Supreme Court appointed their own successors. And the problems, of course, the country's been moving way to the right, theocratic right. But the Supreme Court of Israel remained very leftist. And they were frustrating attempts by the supermajority of the country to pass laws and move laws in a particular direction. Supreme Court, being liberal, kept frustrating it. So ironically, what the new law did is it put the Supreme Court under the Knesset, where the judges now would have to be appointed by Israel's legislature. I don't know the answer to that. My initial reaction is right now, nothing we do is going to work just because we're in what's called post-normal times. Paul, I don't know if you've caught some of these videos I did where I talk about post-normality, but it's what Zaya Sardar, he's a Pakistani scholar. There's a number of scholars who talk about this, but he's the one who really put post-normal times on the map. It describes a period of time characterized by transition. So we're not the first ones to go through post-normal times. Many generations have gone through it. It's the interim period between the death of an old world and the rising up and the reestablishment of order in a new world. We're in a no longer period, but we're in a not yet period. So it's an interim period, and it's marked by 3 C's: chaos, complexity, and contradiction. And the complexity element involves all the particulars that were very similar to what we're talking about with reterritorialization, all the particulars that held the world together around a particular worldview, around a particular paradigm that held the world together. That paradigm has collapsed. For us, it's liberal globalism. That paradigm has collapsed. And so all the particulars now are shattered. And one of the ways in our time that shattering, that complexity is manifesting itself is in hyper-partisanization. Everything's partisanized now. The media is partisanized. Our universities are partisanized. Kindergarten is partisanized. Pronouns are partisanized. Late night television is partisanized. Everything. And even the Supreme Court is partisanized. Everything is partisan now. Because it all comes to whose side are you on? Because there's multiple sides, right? Because there's not one side that holds it all together. The days of Johnny Carson, where the nation was basically united, are over. So I don't see the possibility of a non-partisan justice system right now. Not as long as we're in post-normal times. President Trump is just getting the brunt of it because it's left-wing globalists that occupied the power centers of it. But left-wing globalism as a paradigm in the hearts and minds of people has died. It just doesn't have the plausibility and the unifying power it once did. So I don't see it. I don't see, no matter what we do in this interim period, I don't see anything being post-partisan at this point. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, final round. When shenanigans, if any, do you think? What shenanigans, if any, do you think that the Democrat Party is going to try to pull in the summer? For instance, I think the whole rallying around George Floyd and the riots in 2020, along with COVID, was all used to try to undermine President Trump. What do you see them trying to pull this election season? I don't know. They seem to have put all their eggs in the basket of lawfare. We're getting word of a bird flu coming. But that, again, I just don't think people are going to, I don't think people are going to buy that anymore. I think they overplayed that hand. I don't know. They may have overplayed their hands. They may not have that much more to go. Again, outside of bodily preventing Trump, and God forbid for that. Hence, let's always keep President Trump in prayer. I don't know, Rock Dog. I'll keep an eye on it. Let me know what you guys think, what they could be pulling. How do you think Trump will accomplish the deportation of all these illegals at the same time getting rid of the sewer rats in D.C.? Yeah, boy, talk about, yeah, I like that parallel there. There's another deportation we need, deportation out of D.C. That's right. Well, he already said he's going to implement it, starting with criminals, street gangs, violent offenders. That's where they're gonna start using law enforcement officers, so going beyond ICE. He signed that'll be first. Then in his first year, he signed an executive order that empowered ICE agents to immediately deport even people who have no criminal records but who were here for under 2 years. So that would be, I'm sure, the second level. Third level is just the fear element to it. There's a lot of self-deportation that took place between 2017 and 2020, 2021. So I think that's going to be another level of it. And then we'll have to see. We'll have to see what his plans are for. He keeps talking about the biggest mass deportation we've ever seen, 20 million, some are saying, which would be utterly astonishing. And then for sewer rats in DC, Schedule F, that's the big one. Heritage Foundation has been talking about, has their backing. Schedule F would immediately remove employment protections for tens of thousands of permanent Washington bureaucrats and be able to fire them in one mass swoop. So some are predicting as possibly as high as 60,000. Yeah, would be gone within weeks. You know what, Jules? Why and I mean why are people and our loved ones so delusional to not see the good side of Trump? My daughter, my husband, all convinced that he's going to be a dictator in chief. I've seen your clips on fear-mongering, etc. I know that they are wrong, but how would you handle a house divided with your children? By the way, my ex is a nutcase Democrat pedophile. Oh, gosh. That had me gag ordered for 25 years in divorce court. The divorce literally took 25 years. I'm so damaged. Well, Joel, first of all, God bless you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. We just, and I mean, Eastern Orthodox, we just, you just had Pentecost in the West. We just had our Easter a few weeks ago. Christ is risen. He has conquered sin, death, and the devil, and he's opened up the gates of eternity, an eternal kingdom where every passing second is better than the previous one. C.S. Lewis captured it well in his last book, The Last Battle, in his Narnia Chronicles, where the young people were the four main characters in the story. They're running uphill in the new creation, and the more they run, the less tired they become. So your 25 years will be redeemed. It will be like a drop in the ocean of time. It'll be like nothing. So praise God. When you're dealing with family, remember you have to value the relationship over being right. And this is the hardest part, but I think this is also the sanctifying part of being in a family and in a community. Do you want to be right or do you want a relationship? Sometimes the best thing you can do is listen to them. And it's hard. I know. I'm preaching to myself here. But sometimes the single best thing you can do is just listen to them. Why do you think he's going to be a dictator? Why? Why do you think that? Just listen. Listen to Bill. If you want to know how liberals think, listen to Bill Maher. His press agent is very good because he keeps getting Bill Maher on all the big right-wing outlets, giving him the time of day. Even I've done it periodically. But he is a liberal, and he's going to vote for every one of the Democrats he complains about. So there's no point of wasting a minute with the guy other than trying to figure out, how do liberals think? Listen to their answers. And this is key. Listen. Don't listen so you can refute. They will pick up on that real fast, and they'll see you as an adversary. Listen. Tell them that's something you need to think about. Show them you value their opinion because you value them, because you love them. Don't try to be right. Show them how much you love them by how willing you are to allow them to challenge your cherished beliefs and affinities. If you do that, you're going to develop a very strong relationship with them. Once you feel like that relationship is very strong, once you feel like they feel very comfortable sharing with you their opinions, and keep in mind, I know it's hard. Keep in mind, you know, and they know, half the times they say these things to hurt you. That's family. It's satanic. I know. The serpent comes into the garden. They're saying it to hurt you. And guess what? 99% of the time, they'll be successful. It will hurt. But wait for opportunities when you really feel that they're ready to hear you. And then when they're ready to hear you, you could be very, very, very open, very transparent. You know, I'm sorry. What I saw in the Bronx, that's not a dictator. That's somebody who's appealing to people who feel like they've been forgotten. You know, that's whenever I watch this guy Turley, or, you know, I go on Twitter or whatever, X now, you know, and I listen to the interviews of these people, particularly in the Bronx or in Philly or Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Detroit, you know, as well as in rural America. The thing they keep saying over and over again is, we feel so abandoned. We feel so forgotten. And if you listen to Trump's speeches, he's speaking directly to them. He's talking about things no one else even in both parties talks about. So maybe it's not so much he's a dictator. Maybe it's more he's just speaking a language that maybe a lot of us just don't seem to relate to anymore. But that's more an indictment on us than it is him or them. You could start there. When they say he's going to be a dictator, why? Well, he didn't concede the election. Neither did Hillary. Oh, she conceded with her lips. But then she spent the next 4 years doing everything she could to delegitimize that presidency, to delegitimize the election she claimed to have conceded. Judge a man's intentions by his actions. She conceded with her lips, but she did everything she could to undermine his presidency and get him impeached. That's just as vile. Sorry. More so than a guy who actually just said they stole it from me, because he really does believe that. And by the way, tens of millions of Americans believe that. For right or for wrong, you should be asking, why do they believe that? It's not because of him. It's called delegitimation. That's the process where trust and confidence in our public institutions is at an all-time low. Every Gallup poll shows that. Each year it comes out. It's getting lower and lower. Why? Why would people? Because they feel freaking forgotten. That's why. Bring it all the way. Loop it around. Because they feel forgotten. They feel ignored. Just hitting those points is strong. Because everyone's felt that way. Everyone's felt forgotten. Everyone's felt disenfranchised. As if everybody's against them. It's not fun. So, but start by securing the relationship. Then you can go to the rhetoric, the discussion. That's what I would say, Jules. And God bless you. Vaughn, Dr. Turley, do you see, seeing as how the Leviathan cannot allow Trump to be president, what happens when he wins? How will that play out? Good question. Good question. I don't know. That's the theory. That's why his vice president has to be even scarier than he is as far as the deep state is concerned. Or as you say, the Leviathan. Because if the vice president is acceptable to the Leviathan, what are they going to do? Right? So it's really important, to have a very scary vice president. That's the strategy. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be crazy. Vlad the Impaler. Why did Trump agree to debate Biden so early in the process? He's leaving the Dems a chance to replace Biden after he melts down. That's Vivek's thesis. After he melts down on national TV, seems to me that he would want to face Biden in the general. It's a good question. I don't know. Trump is extremely confident. I don't know. We'll see. I agree with you. These debates are a sign of Biden's desperation. I don't know. I honestly don't. I just scratch my head at it. More and more now he's saying he wants a drug test. He wants them both standing. I mean, he's pushing. He wants an audience. He's pushing back a little bit on it. We'll see. William, Dr. Steve, my issue with the election is this DA in Portland, Oregon, is defeated by 15 percentage points, which may be a win for conservatives, but it still indicates that at least 30% of the state and thus the nation embraces Marxism. Plus, if it were a wider margin, then fixes are still in for the election. Your thoughts? No, I'm with you. What's his name now? I'm trying to remember. The DA in Multnomah County, Schmidt, if I recall. Is it Mike Schmidt? Right, because it's a baseball player's name. No, I'm with you. It's still scary, but given the fact, I mean, Portland is Antifistan. Portland is the center of this insanity, and the very fact that what's his name, Bodine, is it Chega Bodine, and this guy Mike Schmidt, Chega Bodine in San Francisco, and Mike Schmidt in Portland. The very fact that they can get voted out, even in the most receptive of demographics for their ideology, is good news. That's all. That's bottom line. But no, you're right. I mean, we are dealing with the aftermath. We're dealing with the fruits of really 70 years of insane liberalism and secularism that has sown some pretty horrid seeds over the years. That's for sure. Wreck Dog, Dr. Steve, do you think Trump could win Virginia, New Jersey, New York, and Minnesota? Yes, I do. I mean, again, I for reasons that I've said, I'm a bit skeptical on New York just because, and New Jersey, just because they're such Democrat machines. But they can. I mean, look at what Chris Christie did in Jersey, right? Look at George Pataki did in New York. Look at the red waves they've been having on Long Island. They can do it. And if the Republicans play it right, they can do it. They can do it, definitely. So I think so. Virginia, definitely. Certainly Glenn Youngkin at the helm. Minnesota would be the hardest. Minnesota's tough. Even Minnesota went with Mondale in '84. So David, are there any polls that monitor the use of alternative media over the legacy media? There are. Most people are getting their news from social media, so that'll be the bridge. And there was a time around 2016, I think Drudge was beating out CNN and MSNBC and the like. But I don't have any specifics most recent stats offhand. I don't have those. But yes, I bet we could find something for that with you. I'm starting to melt, guys. 2 hours. I'm getting tired here. My daughter's graduating tonight. I've got some family coming in, so I do have a hard break at 1. So God bless to all the graduates out there. But yes, keep me updated on that, or just keep harping me on that. I think I could find some studies on that. Franz, do you think that AOC is still in Congress because Nancy Pelosi wants her own personal bartender? Well, that where Trump is in the Bronx is either in or right around her district. Very heavy Latino district. So that would be, oh gosh, getting rid of AOC. That would just be beyond delicious. That's hilarious, Franz. Marco Z, looking ahead to 2028, do you think Virginia's Governor Youngkin could be number 48 POTUS? Or do you have your eye on anyone else? Youngkin is phenomenal. I really, really liked Youngkin. Donalds is great. Byron Donalds was in New York yesterday. I love him. I think he's terrific. I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. Love Matt Gaetz. Tom Massey is a mixed bag for me. I don't know if he's presidential material. Definitely Youngkin. I could definitely see that. I wouldn't write off DeSantis just yet. I wouldn't. He has the potential of resurrecting himself. It's politics. He can do that in politics. Reinventing himself. But he's got, he had just, the way he put, I don't know what it is with these Florida Republicans like Marco Rubio, gets in, one of the most promising freshmen of 2010. One of the first things he does is starts hugging and kissing John McCain. I mean, I just don't get it. So anyway, we'll see. Tulsi Gabbard, again, that's more the populist left, but it's showing the widening tent. The horizontal is now relating to the vertical in that sense. William, a question. Most of what comes out of Joe's mouth about the economy is lies. Do you think he's deliberately lying? Or is he so clueless he just repeats what the handlers tell him? No, he's always been a liar. We saw that back in '88 when he was running for the Democrat nomination when Dukakis got it. I mean, there were reports, even Sam Donaldson had a whole report on him, how bad he lies. So I do think there's a lying element. There's a pathological element to him. But the Alzheimer's doesn't help. The dementia doesn't help. That's for sure. Makes him even more plausible. Dr. Steve, this is a remark. The Rosebush has Pennsylvania sufficiently cleaned itself up to beat the steal in their state 2024? Good question. Scott Presler's there. I love the fact that Scott has moved there. He wants to take Pennsylvania. He knows if we take Pennsylvania, it's over. And he's polling better than ever there. And Biden just barely won, but that was with an enormously successful mail-in ballot initiative that Fetterman was able to exploit in 2022. I hope so. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. Philadelphia is so pathetic. It's so bad. I mean, they bus in people from Camden, New Jersey to vote in Philly. It's just so bad. But if Trump is really winning with numbers like this, we're talking but if he's really winning by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of votes in Pennsylvania, that's going to be very hard for them to manufacture. That's going to be really hard without it being blatantly fraudulent and therefore invoking an immediate canvass to go and check out the the actual addresses from where these votes are coming from. And then you find mass fraud that way. Verify it. So we'll have to see. Mark, now that the UN has shown its true colors, has swung to the dark side, is there any chance Trump may kick them out of America and sever U.S. membership with them? Ironically, I think it would be NATO before UN. Ironic. I just don't think Trump sees UN as that much of a threat. Just, in other words, they're a lot of bark, but they just very little bite. It's very hard for the UN to actually enforce anything. They can enforce, but you generally have to be a third world country, and a very subservient country, a very weak country. I don't think UN can do a lot. The United States can smack UN around all at once, for right or for wrong. That's, regardless. It's a good question. I don't know. He hasn't spoken a lot about the UN, and that just signals to me that he doesn't take it very seriously. For right or for wrong, we'd have to look in to see if that oversight could come back to bite him as well. We'd have to see. Jeffrey, Steve, what are your thoughts on the U.S. breaking any and all financial and investments into China? Well, we could. I mean, so that's going to be part, I think, of establishing an official Anglosphere. We'd need to get we'd need to get the whole of the collective West to do it as well. I think a mass boycott of China. It can happen because China is now, as you saw, I mean, and Trump was the only one who saw it. Remember, up until 2016, China was the good guy. China was great. Everyone loved China. You're right. We're told by every single Republican, hey, leave China alone. They give us free goods, cheap goods. I mean, China's the good guy. And it wasn't until Trump said they're ripping us off like no one else. We need to push back against China. Now they're the bad guy. And that's because of Trump. So, and rightly so. They should be looked at as a bad guy in terms of the way they were taking advantage of us. And they're certainly a bad guy in terms of their social credit system and their surveillance system. But having said that, the rest of the world sees China as they see China the way we've been seeing China since détente. The rest of the world is going through their own kind of détente with China. And so China's become the number one trade partner with the vast majority of the countries all around the world. Can the United States, once it becomes energy independent, perhaps even manufacturing, reestablishing its manufacturing and industry to number one in the world, can it break from China? Yeah, it can. I think it can. And then enter into an alliance with Western Europe, Canada, Australia, although that'd be hard. That'd be a hard sell. It seems like they're all in with China. Africa does too. But again, we could always dangle the carrot with Africa and via Japan. Japan has its own Belt and Road Initiative. That's pro-Western, it's pro-American. And that's even better than China's. Right? The old joke is when you're in Africa and driving down a road is all bumpy, boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden you hit this road and it's nice and smooth and lovely. The joke is that road back there was made by Chinese workers. This road's made by Japanese workers. So yes, there is a possibility that definitely can happen. We'll just have to see how Trump navigates the rise of civilizational China over 4 years. Just a couple more, gang, and I have to go. My kids are graduating. My wife, Erin, could be empty nesters as of next year. Unbelievable. We got a couple of graduations this week. My daughter from college and my youngest son from high school. Joan, I'm pleased that 24 states are urging Biden to not sign on to the World Health Organization pandemic policies, but there are more than 24 red states. Why aren't more joining them? It's a good question. Again, I'm just wondering if so much of UN and WHO they just don't take seriously. They don't take it as a threat. But I'm with you. I don't care if you take it seriously or not, just as a symbolic move. And we're seeing more and more, if you notice, Slovakia, interestingly, right before Robert Fico was shot, Slovakia said they were not signing on to it. So more and more states are saying they want nothing to do with this WHO pandemic treaty. So I think it's symbolic just for that kind of unity. Just me, wonder if Trump could pull that off in the south side of Chicago. Yeah, the only problem with Chicago is it's so remote. It's the Democratic advantage, and I don't know why though. I'd have to look at the demographics. I shouldn't comment on it. It would be neat if he could pull that off in the south side of Chicago. It would. I don't want to slam the door on Illinois. Can you explain the whole Ohio ballot thing with Biden not being on the ballot? It's like 1968 all over again. Yeah. So Ohio, again, it just shows what a disarray the Democrats are in. Ohio has as their date, their Secretary of State, who's a Republican, has as their date to file, their final date to file to be on the presidential ballot as the first week of August. What that would require is that you have your candidate officially nominated before the first week of August. It does not look like, I think because the Democrats scheduled their convention so late, it's late August, they won't have Biden officially nominated until 3 weeks after the deadline passes to be on the Ohio ballot. So it just goes to show that they're just totally discombobulated as a campaign. So right now, the Secretary of State said, guys, I can't put Biden on the ballot without breaking the law. So frickin' DeWitt, who's a nut idiot, your Ohio governor, rhino par excellence, says, well, that means we have to call a special session of the Ohio State Legislature to make sure that Joe Biden could be on the ballot. If this were reversed, would the Democrats be doing this for Trump? Of course not. But it just goes to show that Republicans are bought and paid for, opposition, their controlled opposition. It's so pathetic. So that's what's going on. He'll be on the ballot, I'm sure. It doesn't matter. He'll lose. But anyway. Last one. Mark, Dr. Steve, I thought state Congress had to approve of county secession, regardless of county vote majority. So how can the scale of secession even happen with blue-controlled Congresses, for example, Oregon? Yeah, you're right. So as I understand, it has to go through the process of state and congressional approval. What's so fascinating, what's happening with the Greater Idaho movement is that apparently there is, and I've even seen it on local television, on YouTube, watched a local television report on this in Oregon, in Portland or Salem, I forget. There is a state senator, a Democrat, who is sponsoring a bill that would look into moving Idaho's borders westward because he recognized that rural Oregonians feel an irresolvable disenfranchisement from Oregon politics. So he obviously seems to be a Democrat with a soul. I mean, he recognizes, guys, we have a whole portion of our citizenry who feel completely and totally powerless and disenfranchised from the political process. They feel completely stigmatized by the rhetoric that comes out of Portland and Salem. Why should they have to live like this? Maybe it's just better that we don't care. We on the West Coast, on the Pacific side of Oregon, we just don't, we don't care about this rural area of Oregon, obviously. So why not just let them join up with Idaho? They're happy. We're happy. There's been studies on this. I've interviewed one of the major players in the Greater Idaho movement. He's pointed out they lose virtually no tax base. It's negligible how much they lose. Most of their taxes come from Portland and Salem, the urban areas. So what's the problem? So even some Democrat lawmakers in Oregon are considering it. Whether it'll go anywhere, because again, everything is hyper partisanized, remains to be seen. But I have a feeling that if Oregon does approve of this, I think it's going to be very hard for Congress not to. At least at some point, a Republican Congress will come into power, and I think they will vote for it. So it is a very doable, possible thing. It's a lot more possible than people could imagine. So with that, gang, I need to go. We've been on for 2 hours, and you're amazing. God bless you this Memorial Day weekend. If you have any graduates, a huge congratulations to each and every one of them. Very proud of all of them. God bless you guys, and Hal, see you next week. Take care.